Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's February 2nd, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented by LifeWallet. The time is now to take charge of your personal health with LifeWallet. So, Matt, it's here, the real National Signing Day, at least the original National Signing Day.
Not the fake one.
And I'm telling you, though, this has really been a really weird one because I know for us, and I know I speak for both of us, this has seemed like old times, really, the way we had to report and cover on recruiting the last few weeks, because there have been a lot of battles and a lot of things going on that we had felt like were gone forever the last couple of years with the early signing period and most kids signing in December. But now with Mario Cristobal coming in and recruitment's getting extended and new kids being brought into the picture, it's really created a lot of intrigue and I assume excitement for the Canes Nation to follow along. And we actually go into signing day today with a lot of question marks where, a lot of kids that have been on the fence and trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen. So I thought today we'd have a little bit of an atypical Good Morning CaneSport. And for those early risers, we would just kind of like go through very quickly what's been going on, where things stand coming into this morning. And then, of course, we'll have coverage of all of this going forward all day on CaneSport.com. So I hope if you're watching this show, you woke up early because some of this information might be obsolete by later in the morning. But, that's the best we could do on the morning of signing day. So, Matt, let's talk first about the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to start with running back Trevonte Citizen. And I spent most of yesterday reporting this story on Trevonte Citizen. And there's been a lot going on in the last 24 hours there. And Miami, who we felt was probably out of the deal a couple days ago, actually made some headway early in the day on Tuesday, and things were starting to look a little bit better as the day went on. But by the time we got back tonight, and if I was going to put a percentage on it, let's say at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I would have said maybe 55% Miami at that point. A day ago, I think Matt and I were in agreement. It was like 25%. I would have been up to about 55% at 2 o'clock. But as the day went on, it was really weird because we thought that Auburn was going to win this battle, and they still might. We think Florida's out of it. Auburn could still win today. But by, I'd say, dinner time last night, I was hearing LSU. And a lot of people thought LSU was out of this Citizen sweepstakes. And, so that was just a total fog of war development. But Matt, the bottom line here is Miami, as it goes into signing day this morning, is probably facing an uphill battle with Trevonte Citizen.
So this is what's funny is in the past years, it was more cut and dry, right? The kid usually knows where he wants to go to school for the most part after the final visit weekend. And you always want that final visit weekend, like with Dave Yulee, if he winds up at Oregon, it's unfortunate Miami just wasn't able to schedule the final visit weekend with him. Instead, when they got him, I think they were hoping to get him to commit while he was on that visit weekend and not take any more visits. That didn't happen, and if they lose him, that would be a miscalculation. But what's strange about what's going on now, and the reason why things are all over the place, and fans are probably not understanding why 1 minute we're saying we think Miami's getting both these kids from Cardinal Gibbons, and the next minute it's, they might only get one of them or none of them, and then it looks like Moten's probably going to come, and other reporters are saying, Moten's not even being recruited, which we've never said, by the way, that Miami's always wanted him, but you get all these different messages, and part of the equation.
A lot of bad reporting out there.
Well, really
for weeks.
And we're not always right either. But what I'm trying to say is, this is the new normal because it's no longer just where a kid feels most comfortable and and where he plans to go, and that's it. There's NIL deals now, and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. There could be a school that calls at the last minute and says, hey, obviously this isn't legal, but through a third party, if you want to make it legal, whatever, a friend of a friend, hey, we just talked to a business over at whatever. They're going to give you a $200,000 deal just as a freshman. If you're able to make it here, we'd love to have you here. And things go haywire. So when we try to make a prediction on Sunday or Monday, and then on Tuesday night, all of a sudden a school calls a kid, which you're allowed to during the dead period. You can call a kid as much as you want. Calls a kid and says, hey, we just found out from, the shoe store down the street, they really love you and they want you to represent their brand here, da-da-da-da. Things change on a dime. So all, people like to talk about predictions and this and that. They all go out the window because, truth be told, something can be set in stone on Monday, set in stone on Tuesday morning, and then Tuesday night, it's totally a different story. And fans get frustrated, I understand, when they look at us. And, Gary, for instance, was saying everyone's coming here a week ago, and I wasn't quite as optimistic as Gary, but there's nothing wrong with what he was saying. At that time, I would agree that there was a good chance they would get the majority, at least, of the kids that were on the board, and they still may. I still think 4 or 5 kids is a very legitimate goal that can be achieved today. But this is what's throwing a monkey wrench in everything, right? And the fact that Miami didn't have a full staff is still working at all this NIL stuff on their own because it is still pretty new. Mario just took over a month and a half ago. They're trying to get all the NIL stuff in place. They do NIL presentations now on the official visits. I don't have details on exactly what's discussed, but they're not handing out offers from companies on those things. They're probably just talking more about general terms, what it is, and the marketing community at Miami and the possibilities. Well, so listen, enjoy the ride today. It's a bidding war to some extent. It's a legal bidding war to some extent now with some of these kids. And if Mario doesn't get them, this is what I was saying earlier, it's not Mario's fault. You can recruit a kid the best of anybody and have the best relationship, and the kid loves your school. But if that NIL deal from somewhere else is unbelievable, you can't blame a kid who maybe needs that for his family. So it's a difficult situation to predict.
Couple thoughts came to mind while you were saying all that stuff. Is that you mentioned that I was really bullish going into the weekend, and I'm looking, going into the weekend there were basically 10 kids on the board, and I thought they'd get 6 of the 10. That was my feeling. It looks like they're going to get 3 or 4 of the 10. So yeah, no, it did not go as well as I thought it was going to go. I thought they had a really good chance for Citizen. I thought they'd get both of the Gibbons kids. I thought they'd get Shamar Stewart. Back then, the Plyburn kid from Jacksonville didn't have a Florida offer. If he didn't get a Florida offer, I think he would have come to Miami. But he did get a Florida offer. Now he's not coming to Miami. So no, it didn't go as well as I thought it would. So that's the first thought that came to my mind. The second is that if you think this is bad, you just wait, because there's some states around the country that are starting to change their laws, and they're allowing the schools to help facilitate NIL deals. And as soon as that happens in a few of these states, it's going to have to happen in all of them, because it's going to create an uneven playing field. The states where schools are allowed to facilitate the deals are going to have an advantage over the schools in the states that don't allow it by state law. So I'd say within a year, I think you're going to see uniformity across the board, and schools are going to be allowed to facilitate NIL deals. And then it's going to be the total Wild West, because then it's literally going to be, Shamar Stewart, you're thinking of going to Texas and A&M because they're giving you $200,000 in NIL money. Well, hey, we can arrange for you to have another 100 here. I mean, we'll make it 300, and that's literally what's going to be going on. And
I think it's already going on, but behind the scenes a little bit.
Yeah, but it's going to be in front of the scenes very soon. And you're going to see a lot of kids suddenly have a lot of money in their pockets. And it's going to be really, really interesting. And that's why we're supporting.
Well, just remember, Gary,
Life Wallet's going to be a big part of this program going forward. Trust me.
Listen,
and I just saw that grimace from you, Matt Shodell, but I'm telling you.
Because you're not making clear something.
I'm making it clear. They're going to be a big part of the picture. And the Moss brothers.
Again, you're misrepresenting me.
I'm not disputing what I'm saying, because I'm telling you, I am right this time. Well, I was right yesterday, too. I am right this time. The Moss brothers are going to come strong in this NIL game, too. And we haven't even heard what Dan Lambert's doing yet. But Miami's going to be very much at the forefront of NIL. All right, go ahead.
You don't let a guy get a word in edgewise. I'm not
Dude,
talking about
you
that.
gave your 2-minute speech. Go.
That's not why I'm shaking my
I'm
head.
giving you the floor. Go.
The reason I'm shaking my head is because you're making it sound like these schools can facilitate NIL deals for high school recruits, and they cannot. That's not what's going to happen. They can facilitate NIL deals for current players.
Wait. You just wait, because how is it legal? Think about this for a minute. Okay. And I've used this example on this show before, I believe. Why can a 14, 15, 16-year-old Justin Bieber, who's a great singer, or a Britney Spears or an Ariana Grande, or all these young stars that burst onto the entertainment scene when they're teenagers, why can they go use their talent to make all kinds of money, but a football player or athlete can't? It doesn't make sense. It's discrimination against the athletes, and the courts are going to fix that. They have no choice.
Right, the courts can fix that, but that's not what this is. That's not what states are doing. I just want to make that clear. You're making it sound like
but they're going to have to
facilitate deals for high school kids that aren't even signed yet. That's not the case. I just want to make that clear.
But they're going to have to. They're not going to have a choice, Matt, because it's all going to get challenged in court. The guy that's now over your right shoulder yet again, he's already going after the FHSAA for infringing on the rights of kids, and he's going to win. I'm telling you, he's going to win, because they have no leg to stand on. They can't. It's not equitable. And he's fighting a battle that he is going to win, I believe, on behalf of the kids in the state of Florida. And this is only going to explode. I don't know where it's going to end. I don't know what the end game is going to be. It is going to be the wild, wild west in college sports, and a lot of kids are going to make a lot of money, at least initially, until somebody can figure out a way to put limitations on it or legislate it or what, because it's really going to get crazy, and you're going to see kids getting $1 million deals.
Oh yeah,
to go to schools and stay in schools, and it's going to become more of the norm than the exception. So we'll see what happens there. All right, so getting back to what we were originally talking about, Trevonte Citizen. I mean, Miami's not out of it coming into this morning, but at the end of the day, when there's confusion, Miami, Auburn, LSU kind of was believed to be on the outskirts. Oftentimes, it's that home state school that ends up winning out. And LSU was probably always going to be the school to beat for Trevonte Citizen. So, I mean, if we had to make a bet coming into the day, it's probably that he signs with LSU. We'll see what happens. All right, Matt, let's talk about the position where things are a little bit better, and as they should be, because offensive line, you got Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal, who have been on the case recruiting, and they figured to have some wins, and they're going to have some wins. Pronounce Mr. Cooper's first name for me, because I'm still working on it.
Oh God, Inez.
Okay, I've been saying Inez Cooper. It's Inez.
Inez.
Okay, Inez Cooper is going to sign with Miami. We're pretty sure. And I took a lot of crap in the comments on YouTube yesterday. People are begging me, don't you show that video of Inez again? The one where he goes up. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to show it. Catches a pass. All right.
Gary, you still haven't figured out that when you're playing the video, nobody can hear you. You still haven't figured that out.
It was a mismatch.
It's like we're parents. We're parents who don't understand technology. I see you talking and I see the video, but you can't hear Gary Ferman talking.
You're absolutely right. That's my bad. All right, what I was saying,
you're like this. You're like touchdown.
Yeah, like what I was saying while the system
that's great
cut me off. You're supposed to be able to voice over videos. Okay, so they're going to have to make that enhancement to the technology. But anyway, listen, the kid shows some athleticism in that video. I know he's going over a shorty guy trying to play cornerback and all that, but at least you're seeing he can move around a little bit. He's got decent feet, stuff like that. You got to look for, you got to read the tea leaves in that video. That's the last time I'm going to show it. I promise. In fact, right now I am deleting it from our video queue. You will never see that video again. So I can't remember who you are that took a shot at me on YouTube yesterday, but I promise you, you will never again see the Inez Cooper video. All right. Anyway, so he's coming, right, Matt? I mean, he's coming.
Yeah.
So
listen, it's between Miami and Oregon. And I know some people are trying to drum up that Oregon can actually win out. He never even visited Oregon. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do the math here. Oregon wanted him to visit, or split his Miami visit. He said no. He just went to Miami. He loved it. I've talked to people close to him. I'd be shocked if he doesn't come to Miami. It's because Oregon has a guy in Oregon who really doesn't want Mario Cristobal getting recruits. His name is Phil Knight, and if, again, NIL deals throw everything into total confusion. This is why people are so confused. In a normal year, it's done. But if Phil Knight says, hey, is this Inez's uncle? Because we have a great deal for Inez if he wants to come out to Oregon. Who knows? If Inez goes and shocks everyone and picks Oregon, it'll be because of Mr. Knight. There's no doubt about it. But
we think he's coming to Miami.
As far as everyone in the real world knows, he's coming to Miami.
Okay. Another guy, and it was part of my bullishness, that I confessed to, is Dave Iuli. I thought Dave Iuli was coming to Miami. Everybody thought he was coming to Miami a week ago. His parents thought he was coming to Miami, but something happened. Like he visited Oregon last weekend, and they got the last shot at him. He's from Washington State, so he lives right there. His family's right there, and that's what he's grown up with, is that environment. And it looks to us now like he's going to pick Oregon, unless something crazy happens this morning. So, that's one of the losses on the offensive line. Another win is the first showdown that Mario Cristobal's had with the Florida Gators, and that's Matthew McCoy from St. John's Creekside. We expect him to choose Miami, Matt, and looks like a decent prospect. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I like him a lot. I'm just so upset about if Dave Iuli doesn't come. I'm just angry because I just want to keep talking to that kid forever and forever and forever. I may have to start doing stories for the Oregon rival site if he goes there, just because I want to talk to that kid all the time. It's just upsetting. He loves Miami. He loves the coaches. I really think it comes down to something that Oregon's promising him about something that, if he goes there. I still don't listen. He's told both programs that he's going there. There's no reason he can't talk to Mario last night and have things turn around somehow again. This is the thing. This is the new recruiting. If there's ways to make kids change their minds, and then there's ways to make kids change their minds back. And Mario's as good as anyone at doing that. So I'm not gonna say, hey, Dave is gone for sure. Like, let's wait and see. As for Matthew McCoy, yeah, I fully expect him to be a Hurricane, and I think he's going to be an outstanding player. But getting these offensive linemen is really this whole February period is offensive line, defensive line, and really that's about it. And if they can get some guys that in 2 or 3 years are going to develop into outstanding players, you've had a successful recruiting class, because winning games, the first step is winning on the offensive line and winning on the defensive line. So I love that that's where Mario's putting all his efforts in these first month and a half of being a coach here.
All right, and another part of my bullishness on the offensive line was Josh Connerly. I mean, I felt that once he visited, which he did this past weekend, that they would lock him up. Well, as it turns out, Miami's the leader right now going into signing day tomorrow. But there's one problem. He's talking about waiting to visit a few more schools, I believe USC and Oregon. And I don't like that at all, okay? I mean, it's great that you're the leader right now on signing day, but if he's not signing on signing day, that does you no good. And now Miami's got to try to hang in there for another month with a guy that's on the opposite end of the country, near those two schools that he's considering. Going to be tough, Matt. Obviously, he's a 5-star offensive lineman. Looks like a great prospect, great-looking kid. Mario's been recruiting him for a long time. There's a big relationship there. I don't understand why he's not signing today.
Well, at the end of the day, it's interesting because you look at the geography of all this, and the guys that Mario has gone trying to get across the country that he had prior relationships with at Oregon that are from the West Coast. Listen, Miami's had a rough run here. And to get a kid to go that far from home and put his faith in coaches when coaches are so easy to negatively recruit against, oh, they'll never be there for 4 years. It doesn't happen in this day and age. Oh, they don't even have their coordinators in place as of, at least an offensive coordinator, but as of, when they were being negative recruited against. I mean, there's just so many things right now. Oh, this program's been in disarray for so long. Why not stay close to home? There's just so much right now to negative recruit against Miami with based on the past, and that's what Mario's working against. And then when you talk about the kids we expect to come here, they're from a little closer. Matthew McCoy's a Florida kid. Inez is from Alabama. So you're right. The distance plays a factor in this. There's no doubt about it. And it's not that Mario can't have his staff go out and see Josh Connerly en masse once a week. Once the contact period opens up again in March, he will. But it is more difficult.
It worked with Logan Sagapolu. I mean, they got him to come here.
Guess what? They wanted other. I mean, this is not reported because it never happened, but they wanted other Oregon kids to transfer that didn't. So you'll get one or two.
I still think, don't be shocked if John Dennis doesn't show up here at some point.
Right, but he could have showed up for spring ball if he really wanted to, and now
he didn't.
And that's a Miami kid. That's my point. That's a Miami kid. So
it makes too much sense for John Dennis to show up here. So if he doesn't become a starter at Oregon during spring practice, I think there's a chance he'll show up here. And the fact that they got Logan Sagapolu to come over, it tells you that it's doable, but it's a tough way to go. And I think you're going to see, as Mario Cristobal gets into this tenure at Miami, I think you're going to see him become less and less reliant on this West Coast recruiting. I mean, he has connections out there.
Oh my God! Weren't you Mr. National Recruiter? Go to the West Coast.
No, I have no problem going to the West Coast. And I know Steve Field just spent several days.
I'm just messing with you.
I know you are. But Steve Field just spent several days out there all over the West Coast, and there's going to be kids that they're going to recruit out there. But I think that it'll get back to being not in terms of national recruiting, because you're always going to see national recruiting under Mario Cristobal, but in terms of going all the way to the West Coast to try to find kids, I think you're going to see it be a little bit more limited than maybe it was this year with all these transfer prospects. And then, the high school kids, because that's where Mario Cristobal was doing a lot of his recruiting before he took the job at Miami. All right, we're going to talk about defense in a minute. But first, let's take a break and hear from our friends at LifeWallet and Gilbert Friars.
911, what's your emergency?
When you're injured or suffering a medical emergency,
my name, Gilbert Friars. My image, right before you. Like me now. My life depends on it.
LifeWallet. Saving time, saving lives.
Gilbert Friars, man. I think he does a hell of a job with that commercial. And there'll be a lot more being introduced in the coming days with other players. But I'm interested to see what kind of role Gilbert Frierson is going to be able to have here in the coming days with Kevin Steele coming as defensive coordinator, but we'll talk about that in a second. Let me finish just these defensive line prospects that have been on the board. It all starts and ends with Shamar Stewart. Let's be honest. I mean, he's the elite prospect. He's the difference maker. Miami has been battling for months on him, going back to the old coaching staff. Now with Mario Cristobal coming in, it's gone up to another level. The thing that I can't figure out, Matt, is, has Shamar Stewart just been trolling Miami all this time? If they couldn't have made it more clear to him how important he is to the program, I'm sure that there's that big NIL deal awaiting him if he comes to Miami, and Mario Cristobal certainly has made it clear that he's a priority. If he signs with Texas A&M today, I mean, to me, that's a sign that he was never really, really, really serious about Miami, and that it's been one big giant troll job the whole time. So we'll see what happens.
Well, their big thing was there's no coordinator at Miami. That's a big problem. And then Kevin Steele was named coordinator. I reached out to Shamar's mentor / defensive line coach, Mo Marquez, last night. I said, "Hey, Mo, do you guys know anything about Kevin Steele?" And he texted me back. We weren't able to catch up on the phone. He said, "No, we are not." But I understand that they were after that at some point supposed to talk to Coach Steele. We'll see how that went. But the issue here, and you mentioned trolling. I keep telling everybody. Everyone says when a kid tweets out pro Miami stuff, he's coming to Miami. It's the opposite. I keep telling you guys, why would they let everyone know where they're going when they want to have a big announcement and have their big moment? It makes no sense. So I'm not encouraged that Shamar's been tweeting out mostly Miami stuff. That's not for me, man. So we'll see. I'm still hopeful. I'm still hopeful because Coach Steele was named the 2005 National Recruiter of the Year by Rivals.com, and I'm sure nothing's changed in the last 17 years with him. So I'm very optimistic based on that.
We'll say I've been optimistic. It looked to me like he was going to come to Miami, and
It's just listen. It makes sense to me that he should be at Miami. It makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense just knowing him and knowing his situation, and he wants a solid foundation around him. The only real connection with him to Texas A&M, yeah, he's friends with some of the players, friendly, but the only real pull there is James Coley here. He's got a ton of real personal friends. He's got people in the area that will look out for him. There are some high school kids, I don't want to get too far into it, but there are some high school kids who are super independent, don't want, like one of my kids is, for instance, one of my kids want to be off campus as soon as I drop them off at college. I don't want to see you again, go home early, even though we're supposed to stay another day. Like, I don't want to see you. And then my car got stolen because I went to a different town because he didn't want to see me. And my rental car got stolen. That was his fault. My other son, is a little more, he wants hands-on stuff with mom and dad. So Shamar is more the type of kid who really wants some support, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different type of kid. And that, to me, would make it more likely he'll go to Miami. But again, there's NIL stuff involved. There's, it's just a different animal now. So it's hard to say. All things being equal, I think he'd pick Miami. So we'll just have to wait and see.
All right, and then the other defensive line battles that have been going on involved Ahmad Moten and R. Mason Thomas from Cardinal Gibbons, and these have been really weird. I mean, these have gone back and forth. R. Mason Thomas was an Iowa State commitment. Then he was looking at Oklahoma and Miami, and
he is an Iowa State commitment.
Yeah, and but I don't know that he's going to go to Iowa State. I think he's going to Oklahoma. I think he's going to Oklahoma. But we're gonna find out at 1:30 today what he's doing. I do not.
Yeah, it's great. Somebody, look, we get different people who tell us different stuff. Somebody said, I just heard he's going to Iowa State from somebody who knows him. And then Ahmad Moten, you hear that, Miami stopped recruiting him. That's not true.
No, it's all nonsense, all poor reporting that's been going on this week. Here's I put a lot of time into this one yesterday too, and here's what I think is going to happen today, Matt. I think Ahmad Moten's going to come to Miami. I think R. Mason Thomas is going to go to Oklahoma.
Well, I agree. They got one of the two. I don't think they get both. I think they get one of the two. I'm not sure R. Mason Thomas doesn't go to Iowa State. I was talking to one of his coaches the other day who thinks Iowa State really could be where he winds up. I know it sounds crazy because it's Iowa State, but I guess we just those are the two that
we'll see. But he's
really weird how it's just weird. They're both on campus. They both rated it a 9 afterwards, which is also a little weird. Usually the kids either give it a 10 or they just say, I don't want to give it a number because it wasn't good. Usually when they say I'm not giving it a number, it means it wasn't that good. Or they give it a 10. They don't give it a 9. I don't even know what a 9 means when you rate something. What's the missing one? What happened? Was it not warm enough? Is that the missing one? I don't know. But there was a missing one. Maybe that's why people are saying, we're not getting them anymore. They're not serious about Miami. I don't know.
And then Kristen Miller's almost definitely going to Georgia. Miami never really had a chance there. It was worth a shot, but he's probably going to Georgia. All right, so that's what we expect to happen today on National Signing Day, Matt. And before we go here, let's just take a second. We talked about this a lot on CaneSport Live last night, so I don't want to be too redundant here on this show. But the hiring of Kevin Steele as defensive coordinator, I think is about as good as you could expect realistically at this point. There were not a lot of home run hires out there for Mario Cristobal to go after. He took a look at some different possibilities and situations and finally landed with Kevin Steele, who was not a fallback, who was not a last second guy. Kevin Steele's been on our radar for several weeks at CaneSport. It was never looking like he was going to get the job, so we didn't talk about him very much, but we unquestionably had him on our radar to the point where when the word finally came that Mario Cristobal had offered him the job, we already had a story ready to go on it in anticipation of the possible hiring. So, Matt, for closing thoughts, your opinion on the Kevin Steele hire?
Yeah, I like it just because some of the alternatives weren't so good. My big thing was if it was Ken Dorsey, I would have been happy, even though my big thing is I want a guy who's experienced as a college defensive coordinator. I think that's important, especially when your head coach is an offensive guy. And he just, he's not going to have that much input. And sometimes if you have a coordinator who hasn't really had a lot of experience at a major program as a defensive coordinator, there's a little bit of a learning curve. And Miami really can't afford to have a learning curve on defense with the defense the way it is. Like, they need a guy who knows what he sees, know what it looks like, know what he has to do with each of that personnel, knows what they can learn, knows how to teach it to them so they can function in what he wants to run, and then call the plays accordingly. It sounds very easy. No, it doesn't. So that I think Kevin Steele can do that. I think some of the other guys that were on the list that Miami was looking at could not have. Sorry, Ken Dorsey is an offense coordinator. I don't know why I said Ken Dorsey. This is what happens when I've been covering recruiting nonstop for 24/7. But the other defensive coordinators that Miami was looking at, some of them were either from, hadn't had a lot of experience at the Miami level program.
Yeah. I mean,
so that's what I'm talking about.
1 year sample size. I mean, I would, I think you'd rather have Kevin Steele than Doug Belk personally. More experienced guys, been there, done that more. So, we'll be talking more about it here in the coming days as he gets to town and gets his feet wet. But at least on one side of the ball now, everybody can be happy that they have a coordinator in place. All right, so we're going to get off to see what happens here on signing day. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We thank you for joining us. Enjoy National Signing Day. We'll come back at you tomorrow morning to talk more about it. And remember, Canes basketball, big game tonight against Notre Dame. If you're in South Florida, try to get out there to the Watsco Center. Have a great day, everybody.